Hey there, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going beyond inspiring and getting into the nitty-gritty of two lives that frankly put our everyday challenges into perspective. We're talking Nancy Galliano and Betty Reed Soskin, two women whose stories, trust me, you'll be thinking about long after this episode.
What we have is an audio excerpt, which is fantastic because it lets us hear their personalities, the emotion behind the facts. And what's striking is, in an age obsessed with aging gracefully, these women were anything but graceful. They were loud, they were disruptive, and their lessons are urgent for us today.
Okay, so Nancy first. This is a woman who, from childhood, was captivated by libraries, so much so that she decided at 14 that she wanted to be a librarian. She started working at a library at 16. Talk about going after what you want. But then life took a turn. She loses her 4-year-old son, Joey, to pneumonia.
It's a loss that's unimaginable. And while we don't get into the depths of her grief in the audio, you can sense the ripple effects throughout her life. This isn't just a sad fact. It's the kind of event that reshapes a person's understanding of the world, of what matters.
And then she navigates a divorce and remarriage to Jim, a relationship that, from what I gathered, had its fair share of complexity. But amidst all this, something really interesting happens. In her late 40s, she's diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. Now, you might think that would be the end of any ambition, but not for Nancy. At 50, she gets her business degree.
This wasn't just about a degree, you see. It was about Nancy reclaiming her agency during a time when chronic fatigue threatened to define her. Makes you wonder, are we underestimating what people facing chronic illness are capable of? It definitely challenges the common narrative around limitations.
That's a great point. It shifts the whole perspective. And then another big change. She moves to Florida with Jim. Late 50s, new state, you'd think she'd want to take things easy. But nope, she starts substitute teaching, just dipping her toes back in, she thought. But then, boom, she lands a long-term position and at 62 becomes a full-time teacher.
It reminds us that life has a funny way of opening doors when we least expect it, and the principal's praise for her teaching her impact on the students well that speaks volumes. This wasn't just someone filling a role, she was excelling at it.
It does make you think about how our passions can reemerge in unexpected ways. Like that childhood dream of being a librarian morphed into this incredible drive to educate. So let's switch gears now and talk about Betty Reed Soskin. The audio starts with her preparing for Obama's inauguration. What must that moment have felt like for her?
Imagine it holding that photo, a lineage from slavery to the Oval Office. It wasn't just celebration, it was the weight of that journey hitting her all at once. Especially for someone who lived through segregation and Jim Crow, to witness this historic moment. It's an incredible testament to progress, but also a stark reminder of the long and arduous journey it took to get there.
It's powerful the way her personal story intersects with these monumental shifts in American history. Her story begins in New Orleans, where she experiences the devastating Great Mississippi Flood of 1927. Not exactly a gentle start to life.
And it's not just a personal disruption. This flood disproportionately impacted Black communities, highlighting the deep-seated inequalities and systemic racism prevalent in the South. This event foreshadows the themes of social justice and resilience that defined Betty's life.
Her family relocates to Oakland, and she describes a childhood largely unaware of race until a jarring high school incident. She's denied a leading role in a play simply because of her skin color.
It's a stark reminder of how racism can be insidious, lurking beneath the surface until suddenly it rears its ugly head and forces you to confront the reality of a world that sees you differently. This experience was a crucial turning point for Betty, awakening her to the complexities of race and identity.
And then I get this, she goes on a date with Jackie Robinson. Now this is 1940s America. Jackie Robinson hadn't even broken the baseball color barrier yet.
Huh.
So for Betty, a Black woman, to date this soon-to-be icon, it was audacious. It was a statement.
It was. And interestingly, this encounter further solidified her awareness of racial dynamics, even leading to a temporary estrangement from her father. He, despite being light-skinned himself, held problematic views on race.
Wow, that's fascinating. Her own father, who could pass as white, clung to the very system that marginalized others who looked like him. It speaks volumes about the complexities of internalized racism. Then comes World War II. Like many women, she joins the workforce, becoming a Rosie the Riveter. But even then, she faces discrimination.
It's a stark reminder that even in times of national unity, the tendrils of prejudice can persist. Black women, despite their patriotic contributions, were often relegated to lower-paying, less-skilled jobs, denied the same opportunities as their white counterparts.
The war, ironically, became another battleground for Betty. Even as she contributed, like everyone else, the racism she'd encountered was woven into the fabric of American life. But here's where things really start to shift. We move into the civil rights era, and she reads about a homeowners association trying to block a black family from moving into their neighborhood. What does Betty do? She crashes their meeting.
That takes guts. To stand up in a room full of hostility and declare, I'm one of the undesirables you're speaking about, that's a powerful statement. Something shifted in Betty that day. No longer content to bear witness, she became the one forcing others to see. And that moment, combined with the support of a lawyer who witnessed her bravery, seems to have propelled her further into activism. It's like a chain reaction, one act of defiance inspiring others.
Okay, but she wasn't just about symbolic gestures. She became deeply involved in the Black Power movement, even acting as a bridge between her predominantly white church and groups like the Black Panthers.
This wasn't just involvement, it was Betty navigating the nuances of Black power. Remember, this is post-MLK factions, emerging debates about integration versus separatism. Betty was in the thick of it.
And she wasn't afraid to call out hypocrisy even within those movements. Walking out of that Black Unitarian conference, was that hypocrisy on their part? Or was Betty evolving, realizing allyship wasn't enough?
Excellent point. It challenges us, when does aligning with a group become complicity if their internal issues go unaddressed? Betty, it seems, constantly sought a space that honored both her Blackness and her individuality.
So this desire for meaningful change leads her to politics. First as a delegate for George McGovern at the 1972 Democratic National Convention. Then she becomes an administrator for a research project led by a social psychologist, William Soskin, who later becomes her husband.
This marks a shift. She's moving from grassroots activism into more structured roles, gaining experience in policy and research. It's like she's laying the groundwork for her later work as a legislative aide and her fight for a more inclusive telling of history.
It's fascinating how life seems to prepare us for things even if we don't see it at the time. It's records, the family business. After her ex-husband's health declined, that's a full circle moment. She went from selling records out of her garage to taking on a business in a neighborhood ravaged by drugs and neglect.
It's a testament to her unwavering resilience. But this wasn't just about keeping a business afloat. It was about community revitalization. And she used everything at her disposal: her political savvy, her understanding of the community, her ability to connect with people from all walks of life.
She was like a master chess player, always thinking several steps ahead. Remember how she rallied support for Gus Newport, a political newcomer, and helped him defeat the incumbent who had dismissed her concerns? That demolition claw on Sacramento Street? It's making me think of that scene in The Incredibles where they destroy the house. Except this was Betty's victory years in the making.
It was a symbolic victory, a physical manifestation of the change she had fought so hard for. And it wasn't just about bricks and mortar. It was about restoring hope, dignity, and a sense of possibility to a community that had been neglected for far too long. But even as she was celebrating this triumph, she faced a series of devastating losses. Her marriage to Soskin ended, followed by the deaths of her ex-husband, her father, her new ex-husband, and then her son.
It's hard to even comprehend that level of grief one after another.
It speaks to the strength of the human spirit. Resilience isn't always about bouncing back. Sometimes it's about adapting, finding new ways to navigate a world that has irrevocably shifted.
And she did adapt. She continued to care for her daughter Dorian while also finding new purpose in her work. It's like she channeled her grief into a renewed commitment to making a difference. At 78 in age, when many are settling into retirement, she became a legislative aide, proving that age is no barrier to contributing to your community. But it was her involvement with the Rosie the Riveter World War II Home Front National Historical Park that really highlighted her passion for telling a complete and inclusive story.
And it's important to note the initial vision for the park was rather narrow, focusing primarily on the white women who worked in the shipyards. Betty saw this as a missed opportunity.
Her vision for the park wasn't just about adding black women, it was about challenging the entire narrative of who Rosie was disrupting the comfortable single story.
Exactly. She wanted to bring to light the complexities, the injustices, and the untold stories that had been swept under the rug. She was a true iconoclast, someone who wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo, even when it made people uncomfortable.
And her bus tour, where she would strategically plant older black residents to share their experiences of segregation and discrimination during the war, brilliant. It wasn't a lecture, it was living history.
It was a powerful way to engage people with difficult history, fostering empathy and understanding. It speaks to her deep understanding of the power of storytelling, of how personal narratives can connect us to the past.
And then at 86, she becomes a park ranger. It's like a fitting culmination of a life dedicated to her community and to preserving history.
It's a testament to her enduring energy and her refusal to let age define her limitations. She embodies the idea that we can continue to learn, grow, and contribute to society throughout our lives.
Both of these women, Nancy and Betty, they faced incredible challenges, experienced profound loss, and yet they never gave up on their dreams or their desire to make a positive impact. It's honestly a bit humbling.
What resonates with me is that shared thread of resilience. It's not just about overcoming adversity, it's about adapting, evolving, and finding new ways to express your passions and making a difference no matter what life throws your way. It really makes you think about what we're capable of when we tap into that inner strength.
So what does all of this mean for you, the listener? I think their stories offer a powerful message about the potential that resides within each of us, regardless of age or circumstance. It's about finding your purpose, embracing your passions, and never giving up on the belief that you can make a difference.
They're living proof that age is not a limitation, but rather an opportunity for continued growth, learning, and contribution. They challenge the conventional idea of what's possible in the second half of life.
It's like they're both saying, hey, life's going to throw you some punches, but you've got this. You're stronger than you think.
They remind us that resilience isn't just about weathering the storms, it's about emerging from those storms stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before.
Nancy and Betty, two women, two very different paths, but united by an unyielding spirit and a commitment to living lives of purpose and impact. Their stories leave us with a sense of wonder and possibility. What amazing things can you accomplish when you tap into your own resilience and refuse to let anything hold you back? That's something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep believing in the power of the human spirit.
Both of these women, Nancy and Betty, they faced incredible challenges, experienced profound loss, and yet they never gave up on their dreams or their desire to make a positive impact. It's honestly a bit humbling.
What resonates with me is that shared thread of resilience. It's not just about overcoming adversity, it's about adapting, evolving, and finding new ways to express your passions and making a difference no matter what life throws your way. It really makes you think about what we're capable of when we tap into that inner strength.
So what does all of this mean for you, the listener? I think their stories offer a powerful message about the potential that resides within each of us, regardless of age or circumstance. It's about finding your purpose, embracing your passions, and never giving up on the belief that you can make a difference.
They're living proof that age is not a limitation, but rather an opportunity for continued growth, learning, and contribution. They challenge the conventional idea of what's possible in the second half of life.
It's like they're both saying, hey, life's going to throw you some punches, but you've got this. You're stronger than you think.
They remind us that resilience isn't just about weathering the storms. It's about emerging from those storms, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before.
Nancy and Betty, two women, two very different paths, but united by an unyielding spirit and a commitment to living lives of purpose and impact. Their stories leave us with a sense of wonder and possibility. What amazing things can you accomplish when you tap into your own resilience and refuse to let anything hold you back? That's something to think about as we wrap up this deep dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep believing in the power of the human spirit.